Hello and welcome back to the Greek Pyramid. A couple of weeks ago I did a Percy Jackson quiz style video where I did a couple of different quizzes across the internet. Today I thought I'd do a very similar video but with a quote quiz. I have already tried recording this a few times but due to multiple technical errors it hasn't really worked yet. So if this one manages to see the light of day, that will be a miracle in itself. Anyway, let's get straight on with the quiz and see how it goes. I'm not choosing one of your paths, I'm making my own. Who said this and which book? I'm not choosing one of your paths, I'm making my own. I believe this one is Hazel in the House of Hades, as it's when she is talking about Hecate and Hecate shows her multiple paths in which the group can take and she basically rebuts that. Yeah, it's got to be Hazel. I don't think the rest of them really fit in with this. Secondly, if my life is going to mean anything, I have to live it myself. This is definitely a Percy quote. Luckily, there's only one Percy option. Can't really remember where it fits in, but it's definitely Percy. So it's Percy and the Lightning Thief. You hit the Lord of the Titans in the eye with a blue plastic hairbrush. Once again, this is definitely in the Battle. This is definitely in the Battle of the Labyrinth, as this is them talking to Rachel Elizabeth Dare when she throws a blue plastic hairbrush at Kronos himself. And I believe that's Percy because I believe he says that. Then Annabeth says some kind of level of amazement comment back, like that was actually quite impressive. Might be wrong about that, not too sure. But it's definitely Percy in the Battle of the Labyrinth. Flower pickers. Anyway, I hope you got something vegetarian cooking, Valdez. I don't do flesh. Flower pickers and don't do flesh is such a Coach Hedge-esque terminology. That's got to be Coach Hedge. I don't really think any of the others would really fit in here. Coach Hedge and the Lost Hero. Percy, you know who you remind me of most? Talia. You guys are so much alike, it's scary. Either you would have been best friends or you would have strangled each other. This is definitely an Annabeth quote. It's got to be the Sea of Monsters as well, because that's more so when we learn about Talia. I feel like we do get some bits about coming to camp and stuff in the Lightning Thief. I might be wrong about that. But I feel like it's got to be the Sea of Monsters, because obviously the end of the Sea of Monsters has got a pretty big reveal attached to it. So it's going to be Annabeth in the Sea of Monsters. I don't define myself by the boy who may or may not like me. Raina, Piper, Annabeth or Nico. I don't believe it's either of the bottom two. Annabeth doesn't really have many lines in the Titan's Curse at all. And I don't know why she'd be arguing about it in that one. It's not Nico and the Blood of Olympus. It's either Raina or Piper. I kind of feel like maybe Raina, like her and Jason's ship, does she think that's already sailed by now? I feel like it must be, so I feel like she wouldn't be saying that. I feel like that's got to be Piper. That's quite 50-50, but I feel like that's probably Piper. Thinking, why would you say may or may not like me? Due to the memory loss stuff? I'm going to go for Piper. I'm not so sure about that one. How do you like a real master? I assume that's supposed to say monster slaying weapon. This is celestial bronze. Works a lot better than a hammer. This is a flashback quote. Okay, this is Luke. Which is it's not the top or the bottom one. Is it in the Sea of Monsters or the Last Olympian? The flashback is within, though. Because I feel like there is quite a bit of discussion about Annabeth's past, and she kind of opens up to Percy on a boat in the Sea of Monsters. But I feel like this is a Last Olympian quote, as this is when it's kind of that idea of building up the idea of a family of Luke, Annabeth, and Talia. And I feel that's got to be a Luke one in the Last Olympian. And that kind of helps to shape his final choice. So yeah, Luke in the Last Olympian. I was at their base, Blank said. But the flag was gone. If you hadn't butted in, we would have won. Okay, I feel like this is a pretty obvious one. This is Talia in the Titan's Curse at the beginning. Angry at Percy's decision making within the Capture the Flag game. So yeah, Talia. Someone must pay for what happened. Let it be you. It's the better option. Annabeth, Raina, Octavian or Tartarus. I don't believe it's either of the bottom two. I can't really see a world in which it's Annabeth either. I feel like it's got to be Raina. I presume this is her talking about Leo firing down onto New Rome. I'm trying to think, is that when she's in the fort? Is that just before... Yeah, that's just before they start going across the Atlantic, right? That, I presume? Yeah, Raina. Okay, halfway stage. Of course, all of Tartarus flows down to one place, his heart. The doors of death are there. I believe this is in the House of Hades, so that rules out Nico. Although I suppose he could be talking about it in some way. But these guys are all... Hazel and Hecate are above ground at this point. I don't see why they would be talking about that. Damison, it's got to be Damison, because this is when they start to build up this kind of biological image, right, of the veins of each of the river flowing into where his heart is, where the doors of death are. So yeah, Damison. Oh, I like this one. Usually nobody knows about cloud nymphs, but dear me, he doesn't look so good. Come to the back. My boss wants to meet you. We'll get your friend fixed up. Melly, Fleecy, Coach Hedge or Frank. It's not Coach Hedge or Frank. That's for certain. So do you reckon it's Melly talking about... I've forgotten his name. The wind god. What's his name? Aeolus? Something like that. Or Fleecy. Yeah, for a second there I was thinking it must have been Melly because of cloud nymphs, but no, that's definitely, that's got to be Fleecy, because at that point Percy's injured. We'll get your friend fixed up. Yeah, Fleecy. I'm not hallucinating, he insisted. The marriage bed was sacred. If there was any place you could talk to Juno. Nico, Jason, Leo or Percy? That's got to be Jason purely because of the use of the word Juno. I don't really think at any point... I suppose Percy could be referring to her as Juno. I feel like it's got to be Jason. I don't know when that fits in. Where does that fit into the storyline? I'm not so sure. I feel it's got to be Jason in the Blood of Olympus. That's right, you've missed like the last 70 years. Well, my apprentice, a chicken nugget. That's 100% Leo. That's his kind of humour, taking the piss towards Hazel. So that's definitely Leo. Don't talk that way, Blank told him. You can come back to camp with us. You can help us prepare. You know more about fighting the Titans than anybody. So this is talking about Briares in the Battle of the Labyrinth. So the bottom two are definitely a no-go. If you don't, I suppose, yeah, if you don't Titan or Grover in within the Battle of the Labyrinth, that could have been a bit of a curveball. I think this is probably Annabeth. Whilst I think Percy's helping to motivate, I think maybe Annabeth would know more, so she would talk about fighting the Titans in that way. I feel like it's got to be Annabeth. We have to find out what Luke is up to, Blank agreed. And if possible, we're going to beat him up, bind him in chains, and drag him to Mount Olympus. Percy, Talia, Clarice, or Annabeth. I don't think it's either of the bottom two. Don't really even know in a time when Clarice refers to Luke directly. So I don't feel like it's Clarice. Can't have been Annabeth in the Sea of Monsters. She was still very much so up for saving Luke in that way. As was Talia for a lot of the Titan's Curse. It was only later on did she really see what Luke had become. So I feel like it's got to be Percy. I don't remember when that quote plays into it. But I feel like it's got to be Percy in the Titan's Curse. We put the mist her the human eyes. We'd hope you think the kindly one was a hallucination. But it was no good. You started to realise who you are. Chiron, Sally, Grover or Annabeth. Whereas one of these three is not... It's not Annabeth. She wasn't really involved at that point. Chiron, Sally or Grover. It's not going to be Sally. I feel like it might be Chiron. Pretty unsure between Chiron and Grover. I'm gonna go for Chiron. Why don't you yell at me or something? I was ordered to kill you. Hazel, Piper, Raina or Clarice. Well, it's not Raina or Clarice. They don't really have a moment like that. Hazel was never like ordered to kill them, was she? She just felt more guilt towards her past. It's got to be Piper. Because they've got her dad captive and stuff like that. Yeah, it's got to be Piper. You've got Typhon coming in, what, a week? Most of the other Titans have been unleashed now and on Cronus' side. Maybe it's time to think extreme. Okay, this has got to be Nico because this is when he's coming up with the bathing in the river Styx theory, so it's got to be Nico in that manner. That would be his extreme plan. No such thing as fair, Blank said. If I'm going to burn, it might as well be bright. The middle two don't really make sense for this. Leo, I suppose it could be in that final bit where he takes down Gaia, but I'm fairly certain it's Frank because that's when he lights his or his life, his stick on fire and tries to melt the chains that is holding Thanatos. So final question. You heard the prophecy. 5 shall go west to the goddess in chains. We can get 5 hunters to go. It's not going to be Grover, unless he wanted to try and sacrifice 5 hunters. Bianca's... Well, it's not going to be Bianca, she's way too new to all this. It's got to be Zoe, right? She was the most adamant on having 5 hunters, not wanting the rest of the demigods involved. You know what, 85%, pretty happy with that, 17 out of 20. I don't define myself by the boy who may or may not like me. Okay, so that one was wrong. That must be Raina then, right? Ah, okay, yeah, that is Raina. Then we've got the other 2 incorrect on the screen now. We have to find out what Luke is up to. In that case, that's got to be Talia. And then, yeah, okay, number 16. I'm going to presume that's actually Grover then. The other 2 don't really make sense, so I assume that's Grover. Okay, some 50-50s that went against me. I'm sure there were some 50-50s that went with me, like the Melly Fleecy one, although I think I kind of figured that one out. I mean, that one was kind of a guess. Number 12. You know, you win some, you lose some. 85%. I'd be intrigued if you played along with this before watching this video, or played along at the same time. I'd be intrigued to know what you got. So if you let me know down below, I'm sure there are some people out there who could manage to get 20 out of 20. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.